Um, this, uh, Dr. Joe Walsh was to be here today to talk with you about some ideas to apply to websites, and he couldn't make it, so he asked me to come. I'm Kevin Morris, and I know that a number of you manage or build websites for your programs, for your specific programs, or maybe you might even build websites for a course. So we want to share some ideas with you today. They're very conceptual in nature to hopefully help you design out websites for your programs or however you use them. This is not a technical, these are not technical tips, these are guiding tips for you to use, hopefully, to make decisions about your websites. And that's what I want to share with you today. I do want to plug our office. We are from, I am, and Dr. Walsh heads up the Office of Teaching and Learning and Technology, and we do all sorts of things there. So if you find these tips useful on your website, but then as you're applying these concepts, you need to drill down into things that are more specific, actual technical things you want to try, then let us know. We'll help you move that direction too. But use these as a way to build foundation for yourself. So we have a set of 5 ideas or tips about maximizing your website for effectiveness of whatever it is that you're using your website for. Probably most of it. These programmatic websites are used to pull in potential students. Hopefully it's a marketing type website, or at least you're trying to push out information to students who might be coming to your program. So we're going to take a look at these tips, and I'll explain a few of them and give you some examples, and that'd be it. So we're going to take a look at idea of starting with an outline. We also want to think about talking to your audience. Who is your audience, and best ways to talk to them via your website. Also, being consistent. That's particularly important, and that means not only visually, but your approach across various places of your website, and maybe even being consistent from your website to other things in your program, other information, things that are not websites, and building some consistency and connection in that way. Personal touch. We know that's very important. Not just that the student feels like someone cares about them, but that everyone involved in the program, you all, from the teachers in the program to the other students, are people too, they're humans. So a personal touch that just shows that. And then maybe one of the more difficult things about a web design is keeping it fresh. And anyone that's done any kind of web design work knows that that's a hard one, because it's hard enough to build it and put it up there. And then you look around, next thing you know, it's a few months later, and so many things are not even accurate anymore. And keeping it fresh is really important, so we'll take a look at that too. So starting with an outline. If your website looks like this outline, it's probably not so good. But starting with an outline is excellent, because it's just a way to organize your thoughts, what's important to be on the website, what things go together, because of an actual aspect of the website will be the way you organize ideas. So does this information go over here? Does it go over here? Is it okay for it to be in 2 different places? So an outline is an invaluable tool at the very beginning of designing or redesigning a website, because it helps you for the organization of the information and make sure it's all there. However, an outline is not a very good way to develop the website in terms of actual clicking and the visual part of it. In other words, if this were the actual website, that's not going to be very engaging for someone who's using it. So the trick on this is to use an outline that helps you develop into something that's more visual. So I tried to show some connection between this particular outline, which is very generic, and how it might get applied to an actual website. So this website's pretty nice. This is Elon College, and if you talk to Dr. Walsh at any time about websites, he's going to show you Elon College. And it really is a university, Elon University. It really is a good website. But the point here being, for all the outline elements in your outline that you might develop, it's got to manifest itself into something that's a little more visual, a little more personable, and how you transition that is important. And that's something we can help you with also. Talk to your audience. This is one thing that I have noticed about a lot of websites across the world, but particularly academic websites, is that they tend to use words, organizations, click paths, ways to get things that reflect the people of the organization, not the folks that might be interested in the organization. So in other words, in our department, we designed our website, and if you're not careful with your design, your website will just be laid out in the organizational structure of your department, which makes sense to you as a member of that department, but it means nothing to who's out there. So you want to talk in your website, if it's meant to be talking to folks who are not yet part of your group, you want to talk to them from that standpoint, from outside of yourself. So that's important, especially if you have the topic of your website is something that's not that familiar to other people. You talk in your own language, they might not really, might not be as engaging. So, for example, here's a nice paragraph that we found that's engaging. It says a lot of the same things that we might say about our programs, but it does it in a way that's a little more, well, it's a little more interesting and friendly and fun sounding. So you might not can see all of the details here, so I want to point out a few. So the first sentence there is, TIE Master's Program is home to creative leaders. That means something to someone, no matter who you are. That means something. Students and faculty alike. That tells you something about that program, that the students and faculty are going to come together in this program. That's informative. That's talking to your audience. Also, together with outstanding fellow students. So you know you're going to be working with some really great peers in this program. A little further down, for a class project, you might prototype an iPad app. You might build a children's TV show or devise a global social network. So it's really, in real understandable terms, saying what you're going to get yourself into. Another nice one at the bottom is, no previous experience needed to join TIE, only a passion for harnessing innovation and creativity. It pulls people in. The information that they still may need that's a little more serious about the program, that can still be there and should still be there, but perhaps it can be channeled in a different way so that you're talking to your audience in here. So talk to your audience. Be consistent. This is a tough one too. Consistency, especially if you're in a large organization like we are, being consistent across the university, across a school, and across departments. And that can be a challenge in itself, especially if you don't particularly like the upper levels of, you might be consistent, but you don't like what's up here. And so that's difficult. But you usually can fit within that. You may have to give up a little bit of your own creativity in order to maintain consistency, but I think you gain it back. This consistency is important, and losing a little bit of creativity or specificness to your program is worth it to maintain the consistency, because the student, think again, not in this case students, but think about the user that comes to the website. They don't know what you know, so any consistency helps them navigate to learn the things that they don't know. So that's consistent is pretty good. Narrative of being consistent is important. Here's an example, a specific example here at JSU. So if you're working on a website, you know you probably have, you do have an account with Cascade here, which is our content management system for our website at JSU. And you may or may not like the design, but it does offer that consistency across the university and across programs, and it's important. And so we struggle with this also in our department. How do we maintain this consistency, but yet get the website to do what we want it to do? And we've been fairly good at that, I think. So here's an example. I'm going to move over here just so I can see it a little better. This is our 3 sections of our website, and we have developed here some tabs, and you'll see in each one of these some accordions. If you clicked on those, they move open as you need it. And you'll see that that setup is consistent from this. This is for prospective students. This is all information about technology, current students, and for faculty. Visually, it's consistent, as well as what you do to get the information. The clicking is consistent. So you're not learning where it is over here and have to relearn a new paradigm over here, and that's important. However, we couldn't really do that from the native tools within Cascade. I'm showing you this to encourage you to think about the consistency and not be afraid of using something like Cascade, which is cannot do the things that you want it to do. It might be that it can do more than you think it can do. That's my point. So we were able to develop some very useful additions to the website management system here, but maintain that consistency. I think it's important. At a personal touch, you might have gone to websites that have an image of someone. I always wonder if it's really a real person that works in there. I don't know that it necessarily matters, but instead of just a letter from the president type of personal touch, but an image and some language and some information that says to whoever's visiting that website, we're people too, we're friendly, we're going to help you, here's how you can get in touch with us very, very quickly, and that information being accurate, of course, is really important. That personal touch goes all the way back to all of these elements that we've talked about. And then keeping it fresh. It's very hard to, it's difficult to keep it fresh. So what we suggest is that you design how you're going to keep it fresh in there and know yourself. If you have the time and energy to keep it updated every day, every week, every month, understand that about yourself. Or if you can really only do it every 6 months or every year, that's okay. Use that information when you design it. Design out a website that you know is going to last for a year or 6 months. Or if you do have the time, you can keep it updated with more current events and news and blogs and that kind of information. Just understand that about yourself. It will stay fresh if you maintain it in the way that you intended it when it was designed. There's a couple of 3 examples that we have here. If you'll just jot those down, I'm not going to spend the time showing them to you today, but there are really 3 good examples of websites, academic websites, that adhere to these principles, but also have some really interesting ideas and visuals. And if you find something there that you really would like to apply to your programmatic website or some project you're working on, then let us know. We can help get you there to at least to some extent, to something that you would be happy with. I'm pretty sure. So Cleveland State U, Elon University is very good. They're a really good example of a lot of things. And University of Utah, of course, there's plenty other schools out there. And I'll leave it there. That's what I have to share with you today. I'd be happy to answer any questions or suggestions. Workshop, we haven't really made plans, but something we can think about, something that can get into some more details on this. Yeah, we'll try that. Yes, sir.
What do you mean by a site that cannot be reasonably updated?
What did I mean by that?
I think timeline, it was in the keeping it fresh.
Keeping it fresh. Here's, let me maybe anecdotally.
Technically or
No, I mean in terms of the content. So anecdotally, I built a website for my personal use for me as an instructional designer, and I put in a lot of elements in it that I had good intentions of keeping fresh, maybe news, current trends, and things like that. In reality, though, I can't quite keep up with what I intended. So that's when I built it, it was not reasonably built to what I could actually do. So that's what I mean. So when you're designing it, have realistic, maybe is a better word, realistic expectations of what you can manage to keep up on some kind of time frame. Yes?
You may not be able to answer this, but Dr. Hugh and I, how
Dr.?
Because I know we don't have access as faculty. Mark
There is someone for each program that has that ability.
Mike Zaneko is really in charge of doing it for college, making changes. That's something we definitely need to do, and I go through there all the time, and I do it too. On the college front page is that there'll be things in there that are out of date, pictures of people that have been gone from here for 30 or 40 years and that sort of thing. So this is, keeping it fresh is very important. I think that's the worst thing we do with ours.
Yeah, it is very important, and it's also very easy to not keep it fresh. It's so, because you get so busy, you don't remember to do it, or you just overlook things. It is a very difficult part of it. But I think, and it's really Dr. Walsh's idea to be honest with yourself, how often you can update it and build that in. And as long as you stay true to that, if you built it to be a 6-month website, as long as you stay true to 6 months, you're good. It's going to be fresh. If you built it as a weekly update, you better stick to the weekly. Other questions? Thank you. It's nice to be here today.